All of us can think about 1, 2, 3 teachers that we had in our career who were inspirational to us, that for whatever reason, they made a difference in our lives. What we want to do is to really look at how do we increase that number.
And so through Inspire, one is able to customize what that project would look like to bring inspired teaching and transform learning.
We're beginning to see all kinds of new practices and new ideas shared, lots and lots of creativity.
Inspire can be embraced by professors, by ed admin, school psychologists, school social workers.
So it's in our schools, it's in our teacher education programs, and it's in our communities.
People are very, very, very excited, very motivated, doing very hard work, and they're going to make a big difference as they enter those classrooms with students.
The response we've received from the community of educators, administrators, and teachers is thank you.
Nedra and Lynne are here today to share their story about how they brought Sanford Inspire into their teacher education curriculum. All right, Lynne and Nedra, please take us away.
Okay, we're going to tell you our story, and as you can see by the slide on the screen, it's about Inspire, and really our story is about the magic of Inspire. It's a conversation that started several years ago. It's an ongoing conversation. And it is a continuing conversation that will go into the future. So we'll take it away. Lynne, you want to talk about the overall?
The overall presentation, as you can see here, what is our context? Where did this Inspire come from? What has changed in teacher education at National University? How did we get there? And what have we learned?
So our context. We're going to tell you a little bit about National University. It's a nonprofit. We are the second largest private nonprofit in the state of California. And as you can see, we use a distributed model at National University, so that means we have faculty, centers, and students across the United California, I was going to say the United States, across California. And we also have some of the largest programs in the state. Our teacher ed programs are the largest in the state of California.
And we have only a 40-plus year total history at National University, so we're considered young among universities.
So to give you a sense of how we're organized here in the Sanford College of Education, as you can see, we have 3 major departments. We're going to focus on primarily the Department of Teacher Education. We will talk about the Department of Special Education as well. The department is basically organized around 2 major areas. Our advanced programs, which means you already have a credential and you're seeking advanced degrees, advanced education. And then our initial programs, which really focus on teacher credentialing, you may say teacher license or teacher certification. In California, we call it credentialing.
There are 2 numbers there that represent the number of students we share. You see that Nedra's initial programs, for which she's responsible, has 9,000 students enrolled, and Master of Arts programs have but 3. A total of 12,000 students. Some universities aren't that big.
So as we talk, we want to talk about collaboration and the connections we have. Much of our story, at least on the initial side, the teacher credentialing side, incorporates special education. We've had a long history of collaboration with special education, so in collaborating with them now, it's not a new idea, although as you can see, the collaboration has been around primarily around clinical practice. We shared a lesson plan template for many years that evolved into an examination of that template, and then we created what we call a learning map to replace that worn out lesson plan template. So there were a lot of significant events, call it a harmonic conversion, that came together. And that includes, we received NCATE and state approval
For the first time.
for the first time. The Sanford Center became a reality at National University through the wonderful donation and charitable vision of Denny Sanford. So a number of things happened. We had that learning map that really got the two faculties from special ed and teacher ed talking about what did it mean to plan for student learning. And that really became a key.
I think there is a significance to two of those. Well, they're all four new pieces. Thanks to Denny Sanford and the donation and the commitment that he has shown toward both medicine and education, he brought special ideas and a freshness to, and a backing that was new to us from the outside. And that's been but 3 years, but what a difference it's already made. And we have a dean who was new and fresh as a dean, not new and fresh to the university because she grew up with special education here and in fact was part of its founding. So through the leadership, however, of the faculty, we came through this amazing accreditation experience, and through the leadership, the continuing leadership of those faculty, we developed the committee to develop the learning map. So there's significant events were game changers for teacher education and the College of Education.
And the dean came to the co-chairs and said, I would like you to bring this department together and to have your two major programs, the credential programs and the master's program where candidates already hold a credential and then want a master's degree, make those programs work together. At the time, they were both totally isolated from each other, and the faculty that worked in those programs didn't talk. So that was a big order. And at that time, we had just received NCATE, and the faculty had a sense of, why would we want to change programs? We're golden.
Yes.
Really? Change
Yeah.
programs at this point? We just went through accreditation. One of the things we talked about is at least the credential program and the advanced program were good programs, solid programs. However, they were old. And a number of things had changed, as you can see on the screen. So where were you in 2002? So this gives you a sense, if we've forgotten what it was like back in 2002, 16 years ago. There's where we were. And interestingly enough, a lot of things have changed since 2002.
The DNA mapping, Ancestry.com would not have been, plus the iPod, Wikipedia, and on and on and on, but Google is flashing there. It's kind of central to so much. And then Tesla, which goes on and off the performance gig with its electric car. So we had a program that began in 2002, and we were still offering it. It was grown, it was updated, but it was still 2002.
And we had gone from AOL and dial-up
Yes.
to having wireless technology on the wrist, and our programs had not significantly changed. We'd mapped the human genome, and our programs had not significantly changed. And so we talked about, were we really producing teachers who could engage the digital generation. And the conclusion was we needed to start looking at possibilities. So we want to take you forward. That gives you kind of a sense of the context. Now, we're going to do this webinar, so we're going to tell you the end first, and then we're going to tell you how we got there. So let us tell you where we are today. So what's changed?
We have 2 new programs. One has been rolled out, and it's a 1.5 years in operation. And the other one just rolled out, 2 brand new programs. So we no longer say founded in 2002, we say founded in 2016 and 2017.
Our programs are collaborative and they are built around Inspire. And we'll talk to you more about what that means and how we got there. So you can see that much has changed. We have a lot of work has been done on the credential side with our special education colleagues. We'll talk a little bit more about that. So one of the things we want to let you know is our vision and mission statements. At the time, 4 years ago, we really didn't have a clear or any vision and mission statement. What has grown out of our work, and that work comes from the faculty, not from the administrators, but from our faculty, is they created a vision statement. And you can see the focus on Inspire will take you to the mission statement. Give you a minute to read it, but again, the focus is around Inspire.
And service to the public good. That's a mission. That's a large mission. But we're up to it.
So coming out of the vision and mission statements of the department, then came what we called the program focus. And that focus was Inspire, along with 7 literacies. And that joined and connects our advanced program and our teacher credentialing programs. We share the construct of Inspire, as well as share the 7 literacies. The advanced program focuses on 3 literacies. The credentialing program focuses on another 3 literacies, although both programs focus on all 7 literacies.
And founded upon the standards of the state and NCATE, which is now CAPE. So following national and state standards for curriculum, to remain faithful to our accrediting organizations, the Commission on Teacher Credentialing out of California and Sacramento, and NCATE out of a national focus, and their central office is in the east somewhere. Virginia. So those literacies, did we spend a lot of time developing the concept of literacy, stolen from those who do reading and literature, to a much broader meaning, to embrace content from every avenue of experience, so that we could cluster those contents and form, how many new courses? 56?
56 new courses.
Think of that. I mean, therein lies the work of the faculty as the development of new program, embracing those literacies, all of which are founded upon standards and broaden to the horizon of Inspire. So it was a 4-dimensional program, which I get goosebumps when I think about it, because we'd never been there we didn't exactly know where we were going, but we knew we had faith in each other and in what we had developed here in terms of a framework, so that we could, like that butterfly, continue to grow until we emerged. And as we emerged, we had this wondrous experience. So that's why we're sharing with you today, this wondrous experience.
So you can have a vision and a mission, you can have a focus, but how do you ensure that that ends up influencing what is being taught and what our candidates demonstrate? Can our candidates demonstrate understanding, values, and practices around INSPIRE and those 7 literacies? So we have a design focus in terms of an instructional design pattern that we use. We start with the focus, which is INSPIRE. We have program learning outcomes, of which, at least on the credential side, those what we call PLOs, program learning outcomes, focus on competency standards, 6 competency standards for teachers' performance in the state of California, and the 7th then is INSPIRE. So we ensure then that as you move down into the courses, that each course is designed around candidate learner outcomes. So our candidates have outcomes of which have to align with those PLOs. So we, in every course, whether it's in the advanced program or in the credential program, in every course there is at least a CLO that focuses on INSPIRE.
And you can see the bubbling up there from the center of the graphic. And that is INSPIRE bubbling up through the concentric organization around it. So that particular graphic is symbolic of our focus.
Exactly. And then to measure candidate competency, then we have assignments. So, and those assignments then must connect to the candidate outcomes that then go back to the program learning outcomes. And it's a circle, as Lynne was talking about, focused on INSPIRE. Our faculty also, as they thought about these 2 major programs, came down and said there are specific design principles that we think as we design these programs that we need to be focusing on. Special education did a wonderful thing when they shared with us UDL. And we had the opportunity, they actually had extra books.
Yes.
That focused on universal design for learning, and they shared their books and their budget for those books with us, and every faculty member got the Rose and I think Meyer's book on UDL, and the faculty read that. We had discussions about what that meant, how it would affect our practice. So that became, that is a huge principle in the design of courses. And in doing that, what that allows our faculty to do in designing these courses is really bring in a lot of different resources. One of those resources is the Sanford modules. And so those modules will play an important role in our programs as a multifaceted way of sharing content with our candidates, and then building into all of our courses multiple ways for our candidates to show that they understand and demonstrate the various competencies and candidate outcomes. So UDL is a huge part of the design of these programs.
And it is an instructional delivery system at the same time. As a mathematics lover, I call it the 3x3x3 model, a minimum structure of 3 by 3 by 3, 3 ways of looking at information, 3 ways of playing with it so that you learn it, and then 3 ways of expressing your learning so that it's no one-way road. It's multiple experiences, as my dear colleague Nedra said.
The other thing that has really changed is we had silos. This was my course, my program.
Mine.
Everything was mine. And now in these 2 programs, everything is designed in a collaborative fashion. Courses are designed in clusters. So clusters of, like the foundation courses would be a cluster. Language and literacy courses in the credentialing program is a cluster. In the advanced program, what are some of the clusters that you work with, Lynn?
Well, we have the literacies, and those form specializations. So we have literacy specializations, one of which is digital. So come on, technology, let's come into teaching and let's show you how to do that. We have 4 other specializations. Instructional literacy, which is the foothold of teacher education. And how do we bring that specialization into a cluster? 4-course specialization, 4 faculty members engaged, and 4 faculty members in charge of 4 courses instead of 4 individuals developing 4 individual courses. I've had the privilege of being a part of that foursome, and I've grown to love those people and to know almost how they think as they know how I think. But we wove a specialization out of many resources and out of the influence of those 4 instructional experts. That's a cluster. We have a cluster in reading. We have a cluster in assessment. This is the first and the newest, and some feel it's the best. Our former leader, Dee Fabry, was instrumental in bringing assessment to the table, assessment to accreditation, and this 4-course specialization honors her leadership in that area. And it's spectacular. Come and take our 4-course specialization. And then we have a national board specialization for those in an external national certification program. We can help you develop that knowledge base so you can go and get the licensure for national board certification. So the clusters are groups of faculty expert in that area who work together and take responsibility for the cluster. And it works.
Yeah, and on the credential side, it has been the honor to work with special education in the design of courses. So we have equal teacher education, which is the secondary elementary in California. We say that's single subject or multiple subject. Faculty working with special education faculty in designing the courses within that cluster. And then those faculty then also manage those courses within the cluster. And then clusters talk to clusters. So the foundation cluster talks with the language and literacy cluster, that talks with the classroom management cluster, that talks with the content area pedagogy cluster. So there is talk across a program through these clusters and then within the clusters. So no longer do we have silos of my course, my program, which is really, I think, one of the major shifts that we do. The other thing is we model what we teach. So we wanted to teach UDL, and so we had to model UDL. We are teaching collaboration, so we're modeling collaboration. If I can go down a list. Then the learning map is integrated, at least within the credential side, within every course. It's taught and then systematically developed throughout the method courses. That learning map is is essential, and especially to our candidates thinking about what it means to be an inspired educator in terms of creating meaningful academic achievement for learners in K-12, PK-12, including social emotional thriving of learners in our classrooms, and then inclusive and equitable learning environments within our PK-12 classrooms. So that is a continual discussion around which our candidates are thinking. And then finally, both programs have an e-portfolio that focuses on the development of one's values and practices around being an inspired educator.
And that comes from the customization of those learning goals, philosophy of teaching and learning that comes from the individual teacher as he or she goes through both the initial and the advanced program. They're developmental so that as they grow and learn, they can document and provide evidence for that within that framework, and have to show their own growth, their own goals, their own accomplishments that they can place in the classrooms where they teach. It's grounded.
Yep.
And it's personalized.
It's personalized, and it's around that concept of inspire, which is the most amazing concept, and we'll talk more about that.
And it has balance, as you can see with the rocks. You wouldn't know how you could balance 5 rocks like that. That's artistry, but that's learned, and that balance it's beautiful.
And it takes a group to figure that out, by the way.
Yes,
One
it
person
does.
couldn't do it, but collaboratively, that can happen. So I just want to give you a sneak preview. It's not a sneak preview, it's the only basic preview we can provide in this short time of our teacher ed and special ed collaboration. So we say that it's a long trunk. We share a common trunk of courses. And those courses are collaboratively designed by both faculty, and then our students are able, as they move through at the end of the method courses, then to branch out into specializations, multiple subject, elementary, single subject, secondary, and then in the future when the special ed standards are finalized in the state of California, then our candidates will also be able to, along with special ed students, would then go into mild moderate or what is now called moderate severe. Those titles will change. I'm not a special educator, I won't go there, but you can see that it's that common trunk that we share. And I have to tell you, even at the graduate courses, most of the credential courses, our credential students are at the graduate level. It's California, and so 80% of our students are enrolled in our graduate teacher credentialing programs. We do have BA programs that are growing and really bring in a new perspective. And so together, this is our common trunk. Even as our faculty are designing the specific courses for our Masters of Education specialties, our faculty are saying, wait, we can't do this without special ed. So the invitation to have special education in all aspects, we now recognize to be better teachers at the elementary and secondary level, we have to be in partnership with our colleagues. So that's a little bit of where we are now.
How do we get there?
How do we get there? So
Let's look at Dilbert. I hope you can read that.
giving you a minute to read that. That's exactly kind of how we felt. As we started on this process about 3 years ago, we did a lot of group work, and large group work that went over a series of about 6 months, and got a lot of input about where we were thinking of going, what we wanted to be, but it still was really mushy. And so we decided to then identify a group of faculty who represented all the variation in our department, and that became a group of 14 faculty members.
They were kind of informally, I was one of those people, tapped on the shoulder. First request was to ask for volunteers from the department as a whole. And that was at first. Primarily the program development in the past had been on the shoulders of department chairs. And what we did to department chairs is almost inhumane, because remember we mentioned 50-some courses of development and responsibility. And we had that tremendous silo, tremendous program development, but it was in the hands of a few. And this, for the first time, was an open invitation to faculty. And I couldn't pass up the opportunity and got to work harder than I'd worked previously, and I was working hard previously. So I think that's important to note. The team that began with a learning map migrated, because of the collaboration, into the program development work for both special ed and teacher ed, and developed a force within the Department of Teacher and Special Education that the likes of which we hadn't seen previously.
Powerful. The group that came out of teacher education was called C2D1. That's the easiest way to say that. Only a PhD could come up with the name of Curriculum, Conceptualizing, and Design. But this was the 14-member team, and that was brought together with these expectations. And these expectations grew. They grew because of this C2D1 that started laying down, you know, for us to be effective, here's what needs to be happening. Some pretty powerful expectations around how people talked with each other and how we worked together.
And it came from the group. They set their own expectations, and they were higher than we'd ever seen. One of the first statements made by a member was, we have to put our cell phones and our computers away at times. We need to be fully engaged and actively listening. And you don't go to many faculty meetings where the computers are not there. So it was revolutionary and exciting at the same time.
And people reminded each other to listen and to not be thinking about what you were going to say after that person stopped talking, but in fact, just be open and listen and be non-judgmental. Listen to the ideas, let them sit there for a while, and it was an amazing group that I've ever worked with, an empowering group. I was honored to work with them. They started out, we thought it would take 4 days, it ended up 20 days. And that is 20 days of sequestered time, the full day. And they just kept coming back saying, we need more time, we haven't thought about, we haven't laid out plans for X. And we spent a lot of time thinking about what is it that we want our candidates to look like at the end of the advanced program or at the end of the credential program. And to be honest, the faculty really had to introduce themselves to each other.
Yes.
The advanced and credentialing faculty really had never worked together, so they were introducing themselves even though they were in the same department. A lot of discussion, days went by what are the characteristics. We had done research, had study groups on all the research in teacher education, teacher development. And finally, the idea of Inspire came around. And we had, it was not an easy discussion, but it was an honest discussion. Because Denny Sanford had given money to the university. We had changed the college name to the Sanford College of Education because of the focus he brought. And we had faculty thinking, and rightfully so, and the honesty was there to say, you know what, we're not going to have a billionaire tell us what to do. We're in the business, this is our expertise. And as that discussion evolved and really began to look at Denny's life, at what he was really saying, the power of Inspire became empowering, and it brought the focus. So much so that the faculty in that group said, build us a big sign so we can have it right in front of us that says every child deserves an inspiring teacher. Not once in their life, not twice in their career in K-12, but in every class. And so that became our focus, and out of that came the vision statement and the mission statement you've already written. Out of that focus came the program format, structure that we've already talked about. That was power. And people were bringing in videos and sharing videos on Inspire, sharing, it was an amazing time of really talking about what it meant to prepare students, our candidates and K-12 learners.
To be inspired, we brought with us our reminder. We don't need reminding much anymore because we now own Inspire. We at first thought Inspire came from the outside, but Inspire comes from within, and it comes from within the collaboration, within the group. When you have high expectations and high quality behavior given and expected from each other, and it became central to what we did. So we are grateful to Denny Sanford for planting the seed, and even more grateful to the faculty team that developed the ownership manual for inspired teaching.
And it really goes to, so we hit a bump on the credential side. So while teacher ed was over here thinking about all these wonderful things, we hadn't involved special education. And they rightfully so were angry at us because now we were asking them to join the party, and it was our party, not their party. Mm-hmm. We held a lot of meetings. So while the advanced program was beginning to be designed, we had a lot of meetings with our special ed colleagues. We designed a joint leadership group. We continued to talk about what it was to be our focus. And again, the most amazing thing happened as we really shared, well, we think it should be 21st century skills, we think it should be this. And what happened was, again, people started talking about how they were inspired in their elementary or their secondary schools, and how they have seen our own candidates become inspired and what that meant. And then the whole group enveloped Inspire. And what we have in special education and teacher education in that common trunk that we share is, and I love what was brought to the discussion, is keep Inspire open. teacher ed was trying to tack it down with a conceptual framework, and special ed said, no, it's about being open. Let our candidates discover as they go throughout the program
personal.
what it means to be inspired. Keep it
personal.
open, don't define it. And they were spot on. We all got that vision, and it was amazing time. So what have we learned?
A lot.
A lot. Probably,
Mega.
first and foremost, to be patient with yourself
And others.
and others. It's a messy process. Collaboration is hard. It's very hard.
The next slide.
And we're overachievers. We want it to be perfect. It's not about being perfect. Be patient with yourself. And that collaboration is difficult, but meaningful and worthwhile.
Notice the equation she developed at the bottom there. A plus B. What is it? A plus B is something new with C. And that's the result of collaboration. When you combine the elements of A with B, you have something new. And we had something new.
It's continuous improvement. When we started this discussion of our story, we said, and the conversation's continuing and will continue into the future because we are always around continual improvement. It is very, very important to not get hung up on trying to be perfect. It's not perfect. The first rollout isn't perfect. We just keep getting more and more information on how to make it better. And the focus has got to be on the PK-12 learner. That's the one thing that brings us all together.
Pre-kindergarten through 12th grade, the public zone for education. That's our responsibility.
Rather than talking about my expertise in X or your expertise in Y, what we share commonly are to make lives better for the learners in our schools. Finally, what we've learned is the power of the idea of inspire. Denny's vision is the right vision, at least it has been for us.
It has.
And we can't thank him enough for that, because it really creates a revival kind of sense. Who doesn't want to be about being inspired? It brings people together. It provides a flexible definition. We closed all the research on what we know about what it means to be an effective or an inspired teacher, and it's empowering.
And we return to its magic.
It is a magic, and as the definition from Latin speaks to the idea of breath, and as one of our faculty members said, it is the breath throughout our program.
Wonderful. Wow, thank you guys so much. What an awesome presentation. I know this is more than just a presentation. They really shared their story from the heart. And a lot of thought, and obviously from their mind, a lot of work has gone into your story. So now is our time to look at some questions. We have 3 questions that we have time for.
Great.
We're just going to jump right into it.
Okay.
Our first question is, can you please elaborate on the data that supports how the Inspire curriculum works?
We haven't done research yet on our own curriculum. We are in the process of building it, at least on the credential side. It's the second year, I think. We are collecting, beginning to collect data.
Personal testimonials are our data at this point.
At this point.
We have graduates of the advanced program, and they have become engaged with our scholarship conference and have gathered their capstone portfolio and have shared their learning not only with the university, but with their own districts. So the data are at this point qualitative and testimonials, and we will move toward a quantitative set of measures so that we can take a look at how the children benefit from inspired teachers. So there's a lot of work still to be done, is the conclusion.
But you guys are off to a very great start, so that's wonderful. Second question is, tell us your story. How did or how does Sanford Inspire impact you personally in your work?
Speechless.
It's speechless. We're both at the end of our careers.
Yes.
We've had amazing careers. This has been, I think, the most powerful thing
Yes.
I have seen in my career. It brings people together. It has brought faculty together. Not easy, but it has really brought us together. It is one thing we can agree on, is that we want to focus on Inspire, and the collaboration has been very, very powerful. It's just been amazing to see what has happened when the faculty created this and then shared it with their peers, and then continue to envision what it means. I'm just in awe. And both Lynne and I have said, what a legacy to be even a part of the faculty's work is amazing.
Our regard for each other has increased as we have done a more spiritual kind of work. Where it came from, where it was from Denny and the leadership at the time, where it's grown is the faculties. And it has brought a sense of respect and pride that we share. And if we continue on this lane, we'll both be in tears because it's so big. So we want to go on to the next question.
No, thank you. Yes, definitely you are a part of a huge legacy, and I know that future students and teachers will thank you for many years to come. Our last question is, and this is kind of a heavy one.
Okay.
It shouldn't make you cry though.
Okay.
If I am interested in bringing Inspire into my program, where should I begin?
With the people you work with, come together in whatever way you can and commit to growing that togetherness, because out of the togetherness comes C.
Come see.
A plus B equals some product you don't know about that's greater than either A or B. That's my suggestion.
Yes, that is. Bring people together, have the conversation. What is it that you want your teacher candidates to be about? And for us, were we effectively preparing them to engage and inspire our PK-12 learners? And we came to the conclusion we weren't preparing. We had a good program in 2002 all the way to 2016. It's a good program, strong program. But it was a tired program. And so the first thing to do is just come together and talk about it. What does it mean to be inspired? Is that what we want? And go from there. Have that start the conversation.
Start the conversation. That's nice.
That's a nice way to conclude.
Yeah. And
Start the conversation.
that's not always easy. As you guys have told us today, you've walked us through your challenges, your wins, your whole journey, and it's been wonderful having the both of you here. Thank you so much, Nedra and Lynne. It's been such a pleasure, and we can't wait to send this recording to everybody and allow more viewers to learn about their story. A couple reminders before we sign off here. We have a survey that's going to launch after this webinar closes. It's just 4 questions. So if you wouldn't mind taking just a minute out of your time to fill out our survey, that would be absolutely wonderful. And please stay tuned for our next webinar coming up soon. If you'd like to register, please visit our Sanford Inspire website. And if you do have more questions, please email Veronica Calvo at vcalvo@nu.edu. I believe that is on the screen. All right, so thank you, everyone. Thank you again. Do you have any last words for our audience?
They might want to hear from our students and the schools in which those students teach to see if there's anything that can be learned from them, because they're the ones that did the
Absolutely.
hard work.
Right.
And may you have the dedicated and faculty that we have,
Yes.
both in special education and teacher education. It's a great idea, but unless you have the faculty that will pick it up and have the conversation, work with it, we've just been very lucky. May you have that. And if you have any questions, suggestions, feel free to contact either Lynn or I.
Absolutely.
All right, and we'll provide their contact information in the follow-up email. So once again, thank you everybody, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.
Take care.